What it do, everybody? This is Junior Zamarone coming at you from Ukiah, California for another edition of Baseball, Bobbleheads, and Brews. On today's show, it's the MLB Trade Deadline. We're going to go over all the rumors that are out there and seeing where all these players are going to wind up. Then, we have a bobblehead that has connection to a trade deadline blockbuster. And finally, we're going to be talking about a beer that could be a trade type beer from two breweries in Northern California. So fire up the rumor mills and let's determine where all these players are going to go. We are more than halfway in to the 2021 season, and there's some surprising division leaders like the San Francisco Giants and the Boston Red Sox. Not really surprising to my unofficial co-host, my brother-in-law Brent, at the beginning of the season had the Giants pegged to win the division in our MLB preview episode. Then we had Farmer on that same show saying that the Red Sox were going to make some major moves with just Rafael Devers. But let's be honest, both of them are homers, so they had to say that. And speaking of homers, I said that my Oakland A's had the division to lose, and that's sort of what they've been doing over the last couple weeks. Now the big question is, what teams are going to be buyers and what teams are going to go into fire sale mode? So let's get into all the rumors and see what's going on. First off, my Oakland A's sit at 57 wins as of this recording. That's 6 games back of the cheating Houston Trastros. They have started off really strong, which normally doesn't happen for the A's because they're a second half team, but they have come back down to earth. In the month of July, they're 9-12 and sit one lone game ahead of the surging Seattle Mariners for the second wild card spot. Now the A's have been making headlines, but not for what they're doing on the field. It's more like what's happening off the field as the A's continue flirting with the thought of moving to Las Vegas thanks to our cheap-ass owner, John Fisher, and the con artist president, Dave Kaval. Now the A's did make a couple moves, and they tried to add some bullpen help in the form of Andrew Chafin from the Cubbies. Now when I heard about this trade, I'm like, who's this guy? Besides sporting a retro mustache gang look, Chafin supports a 2.06 ERA with 37 strikeouts and just 1 home run allowed. That's something we can't say about Jake Diekman or the once reliable Yasmiro Petit. Now, I'm a huge fan of Lou Trevino, but I have to admit my boy is struggling again. So in my honest opinion, we need some closing help, maybe even some shortstop help, because let's be honest, Elvis Andrus just isn't cutting it. Then we could use an additional bat, whether it comes in the form of a designated hitter or in the outfield. And just like that, I guess the A's front office was listening and heard what I was saying because we acquired Sterling Marte from the Miami Marlins. Now, unfortunately, we had to give up on once highly touted prospect Jesus Luzardo. He showed signs of brilliance and even had Dave Stewart himself, the '89 World Series MVP, saying that he's going to be a future Cy Young talent. Now, he was never really able to put it together here in Oakland, so I hope Luzardo going home to his hometown team can put together a very successful career. Now, as far as Marte goes, he does have some swagger, and he does have some pop, and that's some things that this lineup needs. And maybe Marte will have some tools necessary to get us back on a winning wave that we can ride all the way to October baseball, and hopefully past the wild card game, past the division series, and back to the championship series for the first time since 2006. Now let's get into some of the other trade rumors that are out there. First off, we have the San Francisco Giants kicking the tires on a possible trade for the Chicago Cubs star player Chris Bryant. You also have the Padres, who already made a move by acquiring Adam Frazier. Then the New York Mets added an arm in veteran starter Rich Hill. Then you also had the Twins and the Rays kick off all this trade deadline fun by sending Mr. Boomstick himself, Nelson Cruz, to the Tampa Bay Rays. Then, as we're recording this, it turns out that the Yankees have acquired Joey Gallo from the Texas Rangers. And they didn't stop there. They then shocked the baseball world by acquiring Anthony Rizzo from the Chicago Cubs. And I don't think they're done there. But let's be honest, the big name that's still out there and that has been linked to the Padres and the Dodgers is Max Scherzer. Now, Mad Max, if you're listening, please go anywhere but Houston, Texas. Now, the other teams that are interested in Scherzer's capability, you have the Red Sox, who just actually acquired Kyle Schwarber, who went on a home run tear before the All-Star break happened. So you know my boy Farmer is going to be super happy about that, because they're doing that to combat everything that the Yankees have done so far. You also have the Giants kicking the tires on Max Scherzer. Whatever happens in the next 48 hours, we're going to see exactly how this plays out and how it can affect the rest of the season. So for me, I think that the buyers are going to be the Giants, Mets, Brewers, Dodgers, Yankees, because I think they need some pitching help, and the first place in the wild card team, the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, as far as sellers go, the Cleveland Indians, aka starting next year, the Cleveland Guardians, are going to be in fire sale mode. Then you have, of course, the Cubbies, who already dealt away Rizzo and Chafin to the A's. Who's next? Bryant? El Mago? Javi Baez? I also think that the Padres, to keep up with what the Giants and the Dodgers are doing, are going to sell off a couple pieces just to stay competitive still. You have a lot of talented players in Baltimore, so you'll see the Orioles start to break down that team. And before you guys get too crazy and come at me in the comments section below, I honestly think that the Oakland A's are going to be sellers. Now, don't get me wrong. They're not going to sell off the top level talent that's already up in the big leagues. They're actually going to go and gut the minor league system. We have some really good bats that are in the outfield in AAA Las Vegas. We also have a couple arms that we can use. So maybe we'll sell and go all in with our minor league and hopefully have a better all-in experience than the debacle that happened in 2014. So, buckle up your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy 48 hours, and we're going to see what the trade deadline has to offer. This week's bobblehead actually has a direct tie to a trade deadline blockbuster deal. You see, July 31st of 2014, the Oakland A's sent SiCespedes to the Boston Red Sox for John Lester and Johnny Gomes in what was dubbed as, quote-unquote, the A's going all in. Sadly, that move ripped the heart out of the A's clubhouse and their fans as they stumbled down the stretch to wind up in a one-game playoff with the Kansas City Royals. It was a gut-punching extra inning loss where we already had the lead late in the game on two separate occasions. You better believe that the A's could have used La Potencia to possibly get past the Royals and ruin, possibly, the Giants' 2014 championship. And then in a shocking turn of events, Cespedes got traded again at the 2015 trade deadline. This time, it was from the Detroit Tigers to the New York Mets for Michael Fulmer, who would later on become a Rookie of the Year, and Luis Cessa. Cespedes played his final 5 years in MLB with the Mets, where, in a weird way, 2020, he opted out of the season, probably because of everything that was going on with the global pandemic. Now, for me, I'd love to see Cespedes play one more time, whether it's in the WBC for Cuba, or if he ever decides to make a comeback in MLB, because Cespedes, you're welcome in Oakland anytime. The first bobblehead up for my Cespedes collection comes from the Oakland Athletics, and it was given away August 17 of 2013. It's made by BDNA, and it was given out to 10,000 fans in attendance. Now, I believe that it's made of resin because it's sort of heavy and really smooth. It sits in at 7.5 inches tall with a base that's 3.5 inches wide. The detail on this bobblehead is really good because there's actual textured like dirt on the base. Surprisingly for BDNA, the lettering and the logos are all raised. The only thing that is a water transfer mark is the stomper sleeve patch. Now, there's also texture on the helmet, and you sort of have the grooves on the new style helmet. I've never really seen that before because normally it's just really glossy on the finish. The paint is spectacular, especially with one of the best A's jersey. I mean, come on. I'm wearing a gold jersey right now, but the gold alternate that they brought out in 2012 is phenomenal. The cool thing about this is that there's a lot of little details, like on the batting gloves and the batting wristbands. They actually have texture and raised numbering. I've never seen that before on a bobblehead. The only bad thing about this bobblehead is that they get really sloppy on the belt and then on the shoes and on the ankle protector. Then we have another bobblehead, this time from the Detroit Tigers. This one was given out July 1st of 2015 to 10,000 fans, and it's made by our good friends at AGP. The crazy thing about this bobblehead is that it was given out a mere 30 days before Cespedes was shipped off to the Mets. The sad thing about this bobblehead, and I normally love AGP bobbleheads, is that it's a mini-sized bobblehead. I'm going to say that it's made of ceramic because it has a little heavier feel, but at the same time it's light. So it actually is really, really sturdy. It sits in at 6.5 inches tall with a round base that also has textured dirt that sits at about 2 inches in diameter. Surprisingly, there's texture on the jersey and the pants that makes the paint look a little sloppy. But let's be honest, there's only so much you can do with a bobblehead when the primary colors are navy blue and white. The lettering and the numbers are always raised for AGP, and I really appreciate that. There's no watermarks unless you count the Frito-Lay promotional sticker on the plaque. Then you have the swagged out version of the Cespedes bobblehead, this time coming from the New York Mets. This bobblehead was given away August 19th of 2017 to 15,000 fans, and it's made by BDNA. That's 2 BDNAs to 1 AGP. This bobblehead is definitely the biggest out of the bunch because it sits in almost at 8 inches tall, and the base is small at 3.25 inches wide. The detail is phenomenal because it makes Cespedes the character that he actually is. He is swagged out with his neon sleeve right here, texture on the batting glove with the multiple colors of gray and orange. Then you have textured pinstripes that actually are done really well, because if you find bobbleheads that have pinstriping on it, it gets really, really sloppy. BDNA has done a phenomenal job. On top of all that's going on, there's still a smooth texture like on the base that represents the dirt as he's swinging. And then you have these wonderful grooves in his helmet. You also have his necklace, his cadena, and the pendant that's rocking the 52 logo. So this bobblehead for me, out of the three, is the best Cespedes bobblehead put out. Now, we got to talk about player likeness. Out of the three bobbleheads, I want to say that the New York Mets bobblehead looks the most like Yoenis Cespedes. Now, this is the cool thing about these bobbleheads, is that they actually have detachable bats. Each one of them has it, and the only one that actually screws in is the Oakland A's one. But this bobblehead looks the most like Cespedes. And let me tell you which one doesn't. The A's version, which is really cool because of the gold jersey, but that bobblehead definitely does not look like Yoenis Cespedes. I'd say that even the Detroit Tiger one sort of captures a couple of the essence of Cespedes, but the Mets one wins out. Now for me, I am so sad that the Boston Red Sox didn't produce a Cespedes bobblehead. That way I can have one of his bobblehead for pretty much each team that he played. Now for me, I love Cespedes. He made a great impact for the Oakland A's. But maybe you want one of these bobbleheads in your collection because maybe he's Cuban. But either way, go out and add one of these 3 bobbleheads soon. This week's brew can sort of be like a trade between 2 Northern California breweries. They work together to bring a double West Coast IPA. Sudwork Brewing out of Davis, California, linked up with Anderson Valley Brewing Company out of Boonville, California, here in Mendocino County. Anderson Valley Brewing Company has been brewing since 1987, and they work relentlessly hard to make authentic lagers with balance and complexity. Sudwork Brewing Company has been in the game since 1989, the year of the Battle of the Bay, where the A's beat those Giants in a sweep. They've tried to put together some complexing ales that still have ties to their German roots. The Boonville to Davis beer comes in at 8% alcohol by volume. It features Simcoe, Idaho 7, and Raku hops. It also features fresh apricot puree. They also use pale and 2-row malt and Bavarian yeast. Let's get into this bad boy and see what it's all about. Now, according to the website, this beer is going to feature pine notes with a subtle fruit undertone and a malty finish. I'm getting a resin-like aroma, sort of like what those new dank IPAs are coming with. So some people say chronic vibes. And there you have it, folks. We got some of that apricot puree in there. The color is beautiful, sort of, I want to say jam-like on the color. You have subtle bubbles on the top as if it's a seltzer. I'm definitely picking up on the apricot aroma. Whoa. That's surprisingly not bitter at all. You see, on the can it says that the IBU is sitting at 70, and sometimes that's really harsh. But it's well balanced and actually has a good fruit-forward bite. I'm picking up a little bit of bitterness on the back end now. but that's still pretty good. For a double IPA, there's not that heavy burn. It's actually really refreshing with the apricot that's used. It does, however, have a decent amount of sediment because of the apricot puree that's in there. And, you know, it's a slow release, and it looks like it might be moving around sort of like a lava lamp. But you definitely get a malty finish for sure, so that was right in the description. I'm actually also picking up some sort of spice. Now, it's not the bitterness like I was saying because of the IBU. I actually get like a fall like cinnamon, maybe even clove or nutmeg in there. So it pairs well with those fruits. And to be honest, I also feel like I'm getting, like I was saying, the jam-like color, but you get a marmalade type bite, which I actually enjoy. I can actually see myself using this in baking. If I'm going to make a pie, I'd probably bake down the apples with this. That way you have a little bit of citrus characteristics in that pie. And I think it would bring a well-balanced bitterness to the sweetness of those apples. As far as drinking it like this, there's definitely no problem to it. It's rather tasty. So, if you're ever going from Davis out to the Mendocino coast, you definitely have to pick this up. So drive on down the 20 or hit that 101 and come up and get the collaboration beer from Sudworth Brewing Company and Anderson Valley Brewing Company. I'm going to drop a link in the description to MLB Trade Rumors. That way you can keep up with all the up-to-the-minute trade rumors and results. Then I'm going to link you up with BDNA and our good friends at AGP. That way you can check out what they're coming out with in new bobbleheads and new products as we move forward from the global pandemic. Then I'm going to link you up with Sudworth Brewing as well as Anderson Valley Brewing. That way you can find any type of beer from them, including the Boonville to Davis. Now don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Baseball, Bobbleheads, and Brews.